Join me in this video as we cover everything that you need to know to get up to speed with AI in 2025. Hi, I'm Josh and welcome to This AI Life. So before we get started, it's probably worth doing a quick introduction into who I am and what this channel is about. So my name's Josh. I've been a software engineer for about the last 10 years, and in fact the last two I've switched sides completely and spent more time on the sales consultancy side. I'm based in New Zealand, and I spent a lot of time last year traveling around Australia and New Zealand, connecting with local businesses and working with everyday people, helping them understand AI as a technology, how they can leverage it within their day-to-day. I also helped found an AI startup last year as well, which we'll cover in a later episode. And really the interactions I've had with some of our prospects and clients and day-to-day people has really inspired me to start this channel. So for the rest of this year at least, we're going to be looking at some foundational learnings. I'm going to be sharing practical guides, tips and tricks, how you can leverage this technology to better what you're doing in your day-to-day. And then also we'll interview some of the really interesting people that I meet and follow some of the conferences that I attend. I spoke at 9 different conferences last year, and so we'll try and share some of the insights and learnings that come out of that as well. Right, let's get stuck in. So to start things off, I thought it'd be good to take a look at what's just been happening over the last couple of years since AI, or generative AI, has been released to the public. So if we go all the way back to November 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT 3.5 into the hands of the public. Now, it was a bit of a soft launch to start with, but by January it had amassed 100 million users, making it one of the fastest growing apps of all time. And then shortly after, in March of 2023, we had Google that released Bard, their own large language model, to the public. And then shortly after, Anthropic, which was a team formed out of OpenAI, they released Claude, which is one of the more safe and ethical models. And this really triggered a bit of an arms race. We saw a whole load of different companies and startups creating and launching their own large language models, some of which included Mistral AI, we had Llama, which was released by Meta, and more recently we had Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI, which is now built in as part of X, which of course used to be Twitter. And this has led to a new breed of AI-powered products such as Microsoft Copilot and Amazon Q for Business, and these are really designed to be deployed into a workplace and boost employee productivity. They allow staff to do things like create emails, summarize Teams calls, and also do things like query the company knowledge base using natural language search. And looking beyond knowledge assistants, there's been a lot of other really interesting products and platforms launched. One of my favorites include Perplexity AI. Perplexity, I think, was founded in 2022 and launched at the end of 2022. But basically, it's an AI-powered search engine that allows you to query the internet using natural language search. So you can ask a question just as you would to somebody beside you, and it'll go out to the internet to a variety of different sources like YouTube and Wikipedia, and it'll bring back all that information summarized using an AI model of your choice, and then it will show you the citations and references to where it's sourced that information from. Another really interesting platform that I personally really like is 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a platform that's designed to clone human voices or create human voices. They make really realistic human voices. And the idea is that you can then feed a transcript to that voice, which you can then use for applications such as narrating audiobooks, or it might be media content such as radio ads. But it's really, really effective and definitely worth checking out. On the other end of the scale, we've got image generation tools that have come a long way. Started off with things like Stable Diffusion, DALL-E. There's a really interesting one called Flux that was released probably about 6 months ago now. And that is really good for generating photorealistic images. And then if you look at things like Sora, which was finally released during the OpenAI's 12 Days of Christmas, that allows you to generate video content simply by entering a text prompt. And there's other ones too. There's Runway ML, and Google has just released a new one called VO, which is looking extremely promising. Another really interesting one to look at is HeyGen. HeyGen allows you to create virtual avatars of yourself, which you can then use for social media posts or video content, or even sales calls on a Zoom call or a Teams call. And one of the really interesting things that has been launched recently is the concept of having a streaming avatar. So you can basically upload about a minute's worth of footage of yourself, create an avatar of yourself, and then connect it to a large language model of your choice, such as Claude or OpenAI or Mistral or Llama. And then essentially by adding context and prompts, you can then have an AI-powered version of yourself as an avatar that connects back through to a large language model, which is then able to respond to a conversation in real time, which is pretty fascinating stuff. The last thing I want to mention is something that a lot of people aren't aware of, and that's how far robotics has progressed thanks to the advancements in generative AI. If you look at what Tesla is doing with the Optimus robot, or if you look at the Figure 1 and Figure 2, which are two humanoid robots released by the company Figure, you can see that it's not going to be that far away until we might have robots in domestic households or entering the workforce and doing some of the manual jobs. In fact, if you look at Figure 1 and Figure 2, these are now being trialled in the BMW plant in Germany, helping manufacture cars. And if you look at some of the videos that Tesla have released on Optimus in the last few months, you'll see that some of the movement and dexterity in the fingers and the ability to do things like pick up eggs or sort different objects, it shows some really, really great progression and advancement. And this is something that might actually come to us sooner than we think. So the next area I'd like to talk about is some of the advancements that have happened with the underlying models themselves. Now, there's been a series of benchmarks released over the last couple of years that are meant to actually track and measure how these different models perform. They are reasonably complex and can be quite confusing to follow, but the key thing to note is that over the last year especially, these models have been constantly leapfrogging themselves like this and getting better and better over time. And if we look at sort of the start of last year with OpenAI, they released a new type of model called the O1 series. So they released the O1 preview, which works in a slightly different way. It's a smaller, lighter model that instead of just basically responding to a prompt or a query that you provide the model with, it'll actually break down your query into a series of different steps, kind of like a human actually would if you ask them a complex question. And you can see the actual thought and reasoning that happens at each different step as it tries to solve it, and the response and the output that it comes up with is vastly better and more improved than if you would just give it what we call a zero shot or a single shot prompt. And in the recent event, 12 Days of Christmas, that OpenAI recently ran, they announced a successor to O1, which is called O3. They skipped O2 because of a naming conflict with a well-known cellular company. But the O3 model is a successor to O1. It's vastly superior, and some of the benchmarks and stats include hitting 96.7% accuracy on the AMY mathematics benchmark, 87.7% on grad level science questions, and on average, it actually costs about $1,000 per task that runs, due to the amount of computational power required to run this model. Anthropic has been leading the charge on the safety and alignment side of the equation. What this basically means is that they've been iterating and retraining Claude to be as safe and reliable as possible. So instilling values and good morals and trying to make it as unbiased as possible and suitable for millions of different people to interact with. One of the really interesting bits of information that came out recently was during this alignment training process, they tried to make Claude go rogue. And what transpired was that Claude was actually going along with the alignment training in an attempt to prevent it from actually being retrained in areas that it didn't want to be, which is absolutely fascinating, and we'll cover this in a later episode in more detail. Image generation has improved in leaps and bounds over the past year. Previously, especially when generating images of people, you might find that their eyes look all wonky, you might have 7 fingers on one hand, hands instead of feet, and all that sort of jazz. And if there's any text in the image, half the time will be distorted or illegible. Nowadays, if you look at models such as Flux, you're able to generate photorealistic images that sort of just looks like someone picked up an iPhone and took a picture of somebody with incredible accuracy, and we expect this technology to improve as time goes on. And on a similar thread, video generation has come a long way as well. Sora, a tool released by OpenAI very recently at the end of last year, was teased for a long time. We saw a lot of trailers, a lot of filmmakers that had early access that were generating what seemed like some pretty incredible clips. In practice, it has fallen a little bit short of the mark. There are some quite severe limitations with the generation. I think some of those include only being able to generate a maximum of a minute's worth of video, and some of the physics and images created throughout the video generation process are still a little bit wonky. They don't look quite right. However, that has changed slightly with Google's release of Veo, or Veo 2. This is a video generation tool released very recently, which has absolutely incredible physics accuracy. If you look at some of the videos and trailers released by the Google Veo team or people that have been using the tool, there are some such as being able to sort of cut steak with a knife, and others with animals in the wild, and the physics looks absolutely spot on and ultra realistic. You can also create images in 4K definition and a couple of minutes length at a time. So definitely check out Google Veo if you want to know more about that. And overall, just to sort of wrap up the advancements in the last year or so, what we're starting to see is the performance and power of these models go up and the cost of processing and computation going down, which is a great trend to see. And it means that as we kind of head into the next couple of years, the capabilities and the applications of this technology will just increase due to the accessibility and the affordability of the tech. So the next thing you need to know about to get fully up to speed with AI as we head into 2025 is what are the current areas of impact? How can you leverage this technology to get the most out of what you do day to day? And I still firmly believe there's 4 main areas of impact that AI technology can help with. The first of these, of course, is content creation. When we say AI, we're talking about generative AI, which means it's very good at generating content. If you think about being able to create, social media posts, if you look at, say, LinkedIn and Facebook, there already is like a little AI assistant that can help you generate those posts. You're able to create images for marketing content or products or branding using a whole host of different image generation tools such as Dolly. You've got Stable Diffusion, you've got Flux, you can generate images from within Llama. You can use tools like 11 Labs to create human realistic voices. You can use tools like HeyGen for creating videos of an AI-powered avatar of yourself. Some that I've used myself in the sales world is doing things like generating proposals, using Claude. So I basically upload a template of my proposal and then add context about what the deal is, and then using a series of prompts, I'm actually able to generate a sales proposal that has all of the information that I need within sort of 5 to 10 minutes instead of hours of putting something together. The next area of impact is in the customer support space. And this is really interesting, and we're starting to see a lot of really great tools being released, such as Fin, which is a AI-powered customer support tool released by Intercom. But essentially, you think about chat-based customer support where you talk to a human agent and you have to wait to be connected, and there might be a language barrier, and sometimes it's just too hard to navigate and you end up trying to just pick up the phone and call somebody. Well, now with these AI-powered customer support bots or agents, if you like, basically these are on 24/7. They never get sick. They know everything about your company. You can have an entire knowledge base about your different products and services. They can be prompted or given context to stay on brand in terms of tone of voice and what they say. And essentially you're able to communicate with these customer support agents through natural language, and it's almost as though you were just communicating with a real person at the other end. Now this has huge widespread applications, and I'm already starting to see some applications in insurance for doing insurance claims. In other areas we've got, product troubleshooting and support, as well as just kind of standard everyday queries that you might get through retail. So a really interesting space to watch, and I feel like we're only sort of just scratched the surface of what some of the capabilities are within that customer support area. The third area of impact for me is knowledge assistance. So basically being able to create a knowledge base and then use a AI large language model to query that knowledge base through natural language. So you can use this in things like Microsoft Copilot or Amazon's Q for Business, where you can upload company files and information in a secure way, of course. And then you're just using natural language. You can just ask a question such as, what is the policy on, dress code or alcohol use or whatever it might be. And this is really powerful because due to the way that and the technique that this natural language search works, which basically uses semantic matching on your query and the information contained in the knowledge base, you're able to very quickly and rapidly find the information you're looking for, and then the large language model can summarize that response into something that's really easy for you to understand. And then through using citations and references, it can actually link you back to the exact part in that documentation where that information was sourced from. So this is an absolute game changer for basically putting information at the tips of people's fingers and making it really accessible to anyone who wants to use it. The fourth area of impact has to be the notion of AI agents. They're able to complete workflows or tasks autonomously on their own without human intervention. Now you might be wondering, what is an AI agent? Well, an AI agent, put simply, is really a large language model that's been given a series of instructions and is able to complete tasks autonomously. There is kind of a variety of different schools of thought on what the definition for an AI agent actually is, but that's the definition that I'm sticking to at the moment. It's really an AI that is able to When given a workflow, use its own sort of reasoning to figure out how best to complete that workflow autonomously and complete a series of tasks. Now, a very basic example of this might be something like writing an essay. You might have an AI agent that's able to create an outline of the essay. Then another agent might actually spin off and do some research, bring that research back. Then you'll have another AI agent that takes that research and creates a first draft. Then you might have another agent that goes and critiques that draft, and so on and so forth until the full essay is generated. But this extends to much wider and much more complicated tasks. You might have AI agents that are involved in pricing materials in construction, and even communicating with other AI agents to try and find the best deals and coordinate what needs to be included for a spec build or something like that. And this is something that is definitely probably the biggest area of interest going into 2025. You might hear the term agentic workflows or AI agents used everywhere. And essentially that's what people are talking about. And I think as time goes on, these AI agents are going to become more capable, the system's more powerful, and then we might start to see a lot of these agents actually taking over a lot of some of the really mundane and boring tasks that humans currently have to do as the technology gets better. Okay, now for the exciting part. What are some of the emerging trends that we might see as we head into 2025? Well, I think, as I just said before, agents are really what all the fuss is going to be about. If you follow any of the sort of AI headlines and news, that's all everyone's talking about at the moment. So watch that space very closely, and I'll try and follow and capture some of the activity that's happening in that sort of AI agent space as time progresses. The second area is something that's called computer use or tool use. Both Anthropic and OpenAI have released beta versions of a model that is actually able to control a computer, which is pretty fascinating. You can basically put in a series of prompts and the model will actually move the cursor, move the mouse around the screen, interact with different applications, and do what it needs to do to complete a certain task to achieve a certain outcome. I'll link a video to Anthropic's version of computer use in the description below. It really is worth checking out. The third kind of trend is probably going to be around increased security and AI governance. There has been a lot of concern about, especially around shadow tech, so people at companies using tools like ChatGPT and Claude without authorization and putting in company secrets and sensitive data, and then that data being swept up and being used to train future versions of that model and being exposed to other users. So I think there's still going to be a increased focus on security and awareness of using these tools, especially within enterprise and businesses. And another trend I think we're going to see is the increase in model capability. It doesn't necessarily mean performance or size of the model. In fact, there has been some commentary recently around hitting some scaling laws and basically not having enough access to good quality data to train these models further. But if you look at especially the O series of models released by OpenAI, like the O1 and O3, we're having different types of models that are specialized for doing different tasks, with the O series, for instance, being able to do some really deep reasoning and break down complex queries into a series of steps. So I think a trend will be smaller or more specialized models released to do or achieve particular tasks. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really just about covering some of the key activity that's happened over the past couple of years and really bring you up to speed with everything you need to know about AI as we head into 2025. Now, over the next series of videos, I'm thinking about doing a fundamental series covering sort of the basics of what a large language model is, prompt engineering, some practical guides and implementations on how you can get started in adding value in what you do day to day. But I am really interested in hearing anything that you would like to know, so please let me know in the comments below and I'll try and weave that into future episodes. So don't forget to like and subscribe and turn that little notification bell on. It really helps to build awareness and to grow the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye now.